President Nasheed, great to have you on our program, The Business Detective. To begin, could you tell us how you got into politics and what do you do now as an ex-president?
Well, thank you very much, Dinesh. It's lovely to be on your program. You asked the question, why did I get into politics? I think that was an accident of history. I was working as a journalist soon after university. I did also initially work for the Island newspaper as well. Gamini Veerakun was my Edmund Ranasinghe was my editor, and then Gamini Veerakun as well. So I was working as a journalist, and then at that time we had a dictatorship in the Maldives. There were no free and fair elections. There was no political parties were not allowed. There was no freedom of expression. You didn't have the basic rights, and there was rampant torture in the jail. So we were writing about them. And then the government kept on arresting me for my writing. And then finally, after a whole lot of arrests, I contested for a seat in the capital city, Male. And this was in 1999. And I won that seat. But then again, 1.5 years into that parliament, they again arrested me and banished me. But this time I then kind of fled, and we started the Maldivian Democratic Party in Sri Lanka. We were registered in a post office box in Sri Lanka. So the Maldivian Democratic Party was actually started in Sri Lanka. And we ran this party in exile from Colombo, and then later on from London, from England. And then, to cut a long story short, in 2008, there was the first multi-party elections. We were able to amend the constitution. We were able to galvanize the people to political activism. And then we had our first multi-party election, and I was fortunate to have won. So in 2008, therefore, I became president. But then again, in 2012, we lost government. Again, we were all over the place in exile. And we came back in 2018. I was not able to contest the 2018 elections, but my party fielded President Solih as the candidate. We won. Then I contested the parliamentary elections and became the speaker until a week back. And a week back, I resigned as the speaker. And now I have started working as the Secretary General of the Climate Vulnerable Forum. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm very fortunate. We have a regional office in Colombo. Much of the Climate Vulnerable Forum's work is connected to your government's work, to the work that President Ranil is doing, the work that Ruan is doing, the work that you are doing. So I hope to see success.
Okay. What is your connection with the United Nations, some of the work that you are doing?
Well, the Climate Vulnerable Forum is an intergovernmental organization, and we are, of course, assisted by the United Nations in the work that we do. One of our main objectives is to negotiate during the Conference of the Parties, the IPCC, the COP. So therefore, our links to the United Nations remains. But we are an intergovernmental body. We run very much like the United Nations. For instance, we would have projects in Sri Lanka, our Climate Prosperity Plan projects. The CVF aims to do 3-4 things. We develop what we call the Climate Prosperity Plans. These plans are low-carbon development strategies that you can have the same economic outcomes of GDP growth, high employment, low inflation, but without damaging the planet as much as before. So these are planet-friendly, environmentally conscious development projects. So Sri Lanka, Ghana, Bangladesh, These three countries have now done a climate prosperity plan. And what we are now trying to do is to attract investments to the plan's projects. Now, I understand Sri Lanka's plan in total is about 100 odd projects. And we would individually find investors to these projects. Now, recently, the Sri Lankan government was in Davos. The Climate Vulnerable Forum had a discussion in Davos. President Ranil was present with the president of Ghana. And Sri Lanka and Ghana, therefore, was able to propose to prospective investors the projects that they have. I think that gave Sri Lanka and Ghana a lot of opportunities to attract good investments to the projects that they have. So finding investments to the projects, and also most of our member countries are heavily debt-ridden and in debt distress. So we would like to give assistance, advice and support on how to restructure the debt, when and how a debt can be swapped to environment protection, and other also traditional restructuring assistance, technical as well as political. We talk to member countries on their debt situation and how to make their debt more sustainable. We also assist member countries on carbon trading. Now, this is a new thing. And we are trying to see how member countries will be able to benefit from protecting their forests. So they will come up with forest management plans, reef resource management plans, and these plans would be attached to carbon trading. So we hope that we can protect the equatorial rainforests and at the same time have revenue coming to the communities that are living in the forests.
Okay. President Nasheed, you also act as an advisor to the government of Sri Lanka. What are some of your policy priorities?
Primarily go towards debt restructuring, and Sri Lanka has been doing it, and the IMF is supportive of Sri Lanka, and IMF finds that Sri Lanka is well within the program. So I think continuing on that path of IMF program, but I kind of would thought at this moment now, it would be possible for Sri Lanka to swap some of its debt stock to environment conservation. There are banks, there are institutions, there are agencies who are willing to work with Sri Lanka on this. A lot of the central bank governors are cautious about this, but I think Belize has done this, Seychelles has done it. I think it would benefit Sri Lanka to have a look at how Sri Lanka can swap some of its debt stock to environment protection. It's possible.
Given Sri Lanka's challenges, what should Sri Lanka be doing to retain its middle income status that we had prior to the COVID pandemic?
Well, getting over the debt situation is very important. Bring yourself to stability, get your economic fundamentals in line again, and they are rapidly coming into in line. So I think a strong privatization program and also make state-owned enterprises more accountable and more transparent. Try and keep government as lean as possible. Look at the people. Create employment. Create small and medium enterprises that will grow to become bigger productive entities. Sri Lanka has an excellent stock of resources, human resources. Your literacy rate is very high. University education levels are very, very, very good. You have English as a medium and therefore able to reach out to the world. You have an excellent skill set that can be utilized to not only remain as a middle income country. No, I think Sri Lanka in the next decade will become a fast developing country. I think Sri Lanka's future looks very, very bright. I really do think, especially after the debt distress, and then having had the fortunate opportunity to work with many of your government institutions and the president, I feel that Sri Lanka is poised to become a very prosperous community.
President Nasheed, given the Belize experience, and I know you have been talking a lot about it, is there any lessons for Sri Lanka which we can borrow from that experience?
First, your readiness to venture into this exercise. Start speaking to everyone on how you're going to do this. Now, most important is on resource management. How do you manage your environment? How would you monitor it? How can someone be able to measure it and then give a benefit for it? So these kind of internal, institutional, then again, your forestry department, your conservation department is also very strong. The number of publications that have come out from them is quite substantial. I think you are very poised, and I think you can do it.
Given that you are a very senior politician, how should Sri Lanka manage the geopolitical challenges that we are currently facing?
You see, I have always kind of believed that India is our neighbor. India will always remain our neighbor. And it would not benefit our countries to engage in a manner that would disturb India's safety and security and their confidence. So I think it's important that we understand the situation as well. Yes, we want our sovereignty, we want our independence, and we want our prosperity as well. So to achieve that, we must have a harmony and understanding among ourselves. China is still very far away. We want trade with China. We want friendship with China. There's nothing should stop that from happening. I also think that the Middle East must engage more in the Indian Ocean, as well as the United Kingdom, the United States, and the European Union. The islands in the Indian Ocean together must forge a friendship that would stabilize the Indian Ocean. And I think, again, with President Ranil in leadership, this is quite possible to do.
Also, what is your prognosis for Maldives?
Well, in recent weeks, recent days, Maldives has been in the news for the wrong reason. That there's been a row with India. I don't think that is going to assist us. And I believe that the government must change course rapidly to see that there is alignment with India and understanding with Sri Lanka on how to go forward. I think Maldives must always continuously keep speaking to Sri Lanka, your foreign ministry, your other political leaders. We have friendship and we have closeness. So I think we should continuously be talking about it. Now, Maldives goes into the parliamentary elections this year. And I think those elections would be crucial on how much strong of a hold that the president would have on government. Previously, President Soli was fortunate to have won a very substantial majority in the parliament. So, but now politics seems very fractured on all sides. And therefore, it's not very easy to judge if the government can come up with such a strong majority in the parliament. So, but these parliamentary elections are crucial.
Okay. President Nasheed, my final two questions. Question number one is, what role do you see for SAARC?
Well, we have not met since the last time we met in the Maldives, I think. The last SAARC summit. And we are due for a summit now. I think our leaders must speak to each other and see how we can find a spot for a SARC meeting. Dinesh, what I thought was the climate vulnerable heads of government meetings, and especially among SARC countries, with India among us, is important now. And we must try and arrange heads to meet during this year or the latest next year. We must try and.
Okay. And my final question to you is, how would you like to be finally remembered?
You see,
Your
when Julius Caesar, Mark Antony, was it Shakespeare? I think goes on and on about how men are remembered for the bad for the good that they do. Well, that really kind of I don't know how people would measure someone else or me or any event for that matter. That is not a primary concern, but to keep doing the things that we want to do and to see that we have results. I think this is important. And again, I must say, Dinesh, it's very lovely to be working with you. And I think right now I have a singular focus on trying to make the Climate Vulnerable Forum a success. We are establishing our first secretariat in Ghana, a regional office in Colombo, and we hope to make the forum relevant and very visible to the people of our membership, our countries.
Thank you, President Nasheed. Great talking to you. All the best to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dinesh.